Live from New York City, please welcome your hosts for this evening, David Ignatius and Judy Woodruff.
Hello, dear friends. Hello, New York.
Hello, world.
I am David Ignatius.
And I'm Judy Woodruff.
And we are happy to greet you all here in the New York Public Library with thousands of people across the globe joining us virtually. Welcome. When we began planning this 5th anniversary celebration in New York City on October 19, we never imagined that Nagorno-Karabakh would be subjected to military attacks and destruction. And these are anguishing days for people living amid this war. As Nubar Afeyan, one of the 3 co-founders of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiatives, said in his op-ed in the New York Times, on the day when Aurora's 5th anniversary will be noted in New York and online, it's painful to admit we have returned to needing saviors. Nevertheless, we decided to still hold this event because we believe that even in the darkest times, a brighter future is in the hands of those who are committed to giving others help and hope. 5 years ago, the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative was founded on behalf of the survivors of the Armenian genocide and in gratitude to their saviors. As an American of Armenian descent whose family experienced the genocide, I feel a personal sense of the gratitude that Aurora honors. Tonight, we begin a series of events dedicated to Aurora's anniversary by honoring the Aurora Prize laureates and paying tribute to this city's and the world's COVID-19 heroes and humanitarian journalists.
It is my great pleasure to join with you tonight to mark this important milestone for the initiative that has already helped hundreds of thousands. More live events will take place later, culminating on March 10, 2021, with an ecumenical service and a special luncheon in New York City.
Let us now view a short film directed by the Armenian-American filmmaker Eric Nazarian that premiered at the inaugural Aurora Prize ceremony, featuring a special track called Aurora's Dream, created by musician and political activist Serge Tankian. It captures the symbol of hope for an entire generation.
Armenia, the land of Noah. For millennia, Armenians created an ancient civilization of builders, healers, scientists, and storytellers at the crossroads of world cultures. They survived conquests and empires, contributed to trade, art, literature, and science, becoming a truly global people. In 1915, under the cover of the Great War, 1.5 million Armenians perished from their ancient homeland, along with their culture and way of life. This was a genocide perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire against its own citizens. Across the 4 corners of the globe, men, women, and children fled, seeking shelter and a life of peace. They were determined and resilient. The fortunate ones were saved by unsung heroes who risked their lives. Among the saved children was Aurora Mardiganyan, an orphaned 17-year-old survivor of the atrocities. She became the star of Ravished Armenia, the first major motion picture produced in Hollywood about the genocide. Based on her autobiography, Aurora was cast in the starring role, reenacting the trauma of her young life and telling the story of her people. The film premiered to sold-out audiences in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and more than 100 cities across the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Australia. Aurora's autobiography sold several hundreds of thousands of copies. She became an international phenomenon during the silent film era, a symbol of survival, goodwill, and the devastation of the genocide. She was the icon of philanthropic aid for the survivors. In 1919, the monumental success of ravished Armenia raised international awareness and $30 million for 60,000 orphans in the Near East. To this day, Aurora remains a testament to the living memory of the genocide and the gratitude of the Armenian people to their saviors. True to her name, Aurora became the symbol of light and hope for an entire generation. Those who survived and resisted the genocide, like Aurora, were scattered around the world and persevered. They rebuilt their lives and communities with dignity, ever grateful to the Samaritans who rescued their families. Men and women like Jacob Kunzler, Bodil Bjorn, Maria Jacobson, Fridtjof Nansen, and so many others put their lives at risk to heal and protect the refugees and survivors. The world today faces man-made disasters not unlike those of a century ago. Every day, heroes worldwide answer the call of human duty. These rare and brave men and women are among us. They are our neighbors. They are the strangers on the streets we pass. They work in the far corners of the world, saving lives with open hearts. On behalf of the survivors of the Armenian genocide, and in gratitude to their saviors, the Aurora Prize for Awakening Humanity honors the power of the human spirit that compels action in the face of adversity. Anyone, anywhere in the world is eligible for the prize. We salute those who dedicate their lives to enabling others to live and make a difference.
What a joy for me to watch this powerful film again at Aurora's 5th anniversary after seeing it for the first time in Yerevan. Throughout this year, Aurora has been receiving warm wishes from our friends across the globe and from Armenia, of course. Unfortunately, we can't name everyone who sent their support, but each message was greatly appreciated. I'll share a special one from the Vatican. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative's commitment in the global efforts of combating poverty, improving health care, and providing education to vulnerable communities is a very important element to create a world that is just and open to the weakest and those most in need. And we've just received a special video from Aurora's long-standing friend, George Clooney, co-founder of the Century and the first co-chair of the Aurora Prize Selection Committee.
Well, I'm sorry we all can't be together tonight. These are unusual times, particularly unusual for the people of Armenia. And we hope and pray for peace as quickly and as soon as possible. It is foremost on all of our minds. It has been an honor for me to have been, from the very beginning, part of this Aurora Prize with Elie Wiesel, the late, great Elie. The Aurora Prize, first and foremost, I cannot congratulate them enough for the hard work they do and for the money that they use to help bring attention and to actually help some of the laureates, some of the people who've actually been awarded these prizes, and to the people who have been awarded these prizes. They are the best of us. They stand out. They risk their lives. They make the world better. Speaking of making the world better, Vartan, there at the New York Public Library. Vartan is the best, truly the best of us. He's who I want to grow up and be. He is kind, and he is compassionate, and he works every day to help bring peace to everyone, not just to Armenia. So I'm hoping that somewhere in the near future, there is no need for an Aurora Prize. That would be my prayer. That would be my hope. Thank you all. Thank you for everyone's involvement. And we'll see you soon, hopefully in a room together.
And thank you, George Clooney. What a wonderful message. It's been so gratifying to feel the solidarity of all of Aurora's supporters. And now I am honored to invite someone George just described in words with which we can all agree, my friend Vartan Gregorian, member of the Aurora Prize Selection Committee, one of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative co-founders, and president of the Carnegie Corporation of New York, to join us.
Welcome, Vartan, my dear friend and a mentor for so many of us.
Hello, it is so good to see you, Vartan, joining us tonight on behalf of the Aurora co-founders and the selection committee.
Hello, Judy. Hello, David. Hello, dear friends and viewers from all over the world.
Personally, I couldn't be more excited to be here in the New York Public Library that you led for many years. As its former president, you are rightly credited with restoring this library's status as a cultural landmark.
Thank you, Judy. On behalf of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, I would like to express our gratitude to the New York Public Library and my dear friend Tony Marks, President and CEO, for hosting us this evening. First of all, let me say how happy I am that we are in New York and its People's Palace. New York Public Library is perhaps the most democratic institution in the world. It provides information and knowledge. It provides education to our citizens and visitors, immigrants and visitors, both poor and rich. It protects one's privacy, and it's for free. Everybody has free access. It gives all an opportunity to know and obtain knowledge. That is why in 1913, Lenin wrote an editorial in the Pravda newspaper saying what Russia needs is a New York Public Library, where anybody has free access and is given an opportunity to acquire, to know, and to obtain information and knowledge. New York Public Library, like its sister institutions, helps us chart out where we are coming from in order to know where we are going. The library embodies humanity's record, its triumphs, its tragedies, dreams, and aspirations. It's the most tolerant institution in the world. It's a source of hope, coexistence, and peace. The library is a veritable university for lifelong learning. However, there are no final examinations because no one can graduate from New York Public Library or in other libraries. That is also very much in the spirit of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. So thank you again, Tony, for hosting us tonight, and thanks to David and Judy for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you. And we have a message from Tony Marks. Let's hear it.
I am Tony Marks, President of the New York Public Library, and it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Aurora and the entire community here to the library for this great celebration tonight. We know that nothing beats the power of education, of access to information and opportunity for addressing pressing social needs. The New York Public Library believes in that fundamentally. Aurora believes in it fundamentally. And we are both acting to remove all obstacles we can to all forms of advancement. The needs now are greater than we could have possibly imagined. But we know that out of dark times can come light. Aurora reminds us of that from its founding after the genocide for the Armenian people that now has brought forth and inspired such great works. Keep it going. We're honored to partner with you. We're honored to have you here tonight. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Tony, for hosting us here. But Vartan, there's more still to the fact that New York City was chosen for this event.
New York has a special place in the hearts of Armenians, Greeks, Chaldeans, and Assyrians who were subject to the massacres and genocides during World War I. This is where America began its largest interfaith, nonpartisan, historical philanthropic endeavor. It resulted in an unprecedented goal. It raised some $116 million. That's almost $3 billion in today's world. This was the result of contributions by ordinary citizens from all faiths and all classes. It was a national effort. The persecuted were saved, taken care of, and educated. That is why the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative chose New York City in its search for a symbol of gratitude in action and was launched here in 2015. It's befitting, therefore, that we mark our 5th anniversary here in New York and thus bring us together.
Today, the humanitarian agenda clearly remains a focus of attention for New Yorkers, and we hope for all Americans. It is so important for us to be informed, and that's where the news media come in. The extensive coverage of the tragic events in the beginning of the last century by American newspapers has set the standards of humanitarian journalism for decades, so that today, journalists all over the world continue to courageously put themselves at risk to let all of us know what is happening in conflict zones and areas of natural disasters.
Tonight, we are also recognizing the outstanding journalists who have time and time again demonstrated their unwavering commitment to humanitarian causes. On behalf of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, I'm honored to present the inaugural Gwen Ifill and Judy Woodruff Humanitarian Journalism Award to Nick Kristof and Jane Ferguson. Thanks to Nick, we discovered 2017 Aurora Prize laureate Dr. Tom Katena in Sudan. Today, he's chair of our Aurora Humanitarian Initiative. We're also grateful to Jane, who raised our awareness of the plight of the Yazidi community in Iraq, shedding light on the survivors of an ISIS-led genocide. I'm delighted to inform you that a $20,000 grant will be donated in honor of the awardees to the Committee to Protect Journalists, an organization which promotes freedom of press worldwide at a time when journalists are subjected to the threats and risk their lives.
Vartan, I am honored beyond words to have this inaugural award named after my late dear friend and colleague, Gwen Ifill, and me. Thank you. And I cannot imagine two more worthy recipients. Nicholas Kristof specializes in reporting on human rights abuses and social injustices, such as human trafficking and the Darfur conflict, and has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for his work.
And Judy's colleague, Jane Ferguson, is an award-winning international correspondent for the PBS NewsHour and The New Yorker, whose coverage highlights include reporting from Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon, and many more. So congratulations to Nick and Jane. Let's watch the message from the awardees.
I'm a huge admirer of the Aurora Prize laureates of the past, and so proud to be part of this today. I truly hope that efforts like this can remind us, wherever we are in the world, of our shared humanity. I'm especially thrilled by the chance to support, in turn, an organization that I hugely admire, the Committee to Protect Journalists. It helps keep reporters alive and out of jail worldwide.
Having dedicated my life to frontline war reporting and telling human stories from places in turmoil, I'm deeply grateful to receive this award. One of the most important things that Aurora does is to shed light on the work of the people around the planet who are trying to make it a better place. And I'm honored by this recognition.
Let me point out that among us tonight, we also have 2 other nationally prominent and distinguished journalists. Of course, I'm talking about our great MCs, Judy Woodruff and David Ignatius. Judy Woodruff is a great friend who believes that democracy and excellence are not mutually exclusive. She has led the PBS NewsHour into national prominence, making it one of the most trusted media in the United States today. She's a celebrated journalist and also a great supporter of our democracy, its institutions, human rights, as well as women's and children's causes, and of course, freedom of speech and freedom of press. David Ignatius has been with Aurora for the past 5 years, acting as our master of ceremonies and contributing his time and knowledge to the initiative's global outreach. Not only is he an award-winning journalist, an associate editor and columnist for the Washington Post, but also a successful novelist. This doesn't surprise me, however. His father, Paul, who is 100 years old, who served as Secretary of the Navy, is also an author, as well as an expert on jazz. Thank you once again, dear friends, for hosting this evening's event.
Vartan, thank you so much for this most special recognition. As journalists, it's always been our mission to shine a light on the most important developments of our time. So it is truly inspiring to be here, paying tribute to the heroes who address modern challenges.
Aurora was created to honor the memory of those who saved Armenians a century ago. Its co-founders could never imagine that Armenians would need support to survive in modern times, yet they do today. And Aurora is lending a helping hand to secure the future of those affected by war in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative co-founders, Nubar Feyan, Vartan Grigorian, and Ruben Vardanyan, personally donated $1 million to the Hayastan All-Armenian Fund. Together with UWC Dilijan International School of Armenia, a $1 million special fund has been established for initiatives focused on education and well-being of children affected by the war. Amidst the challenges our world is currently facing, it's more crucial than ever to be able to show our solidarity, and that is why in the spring of 2021, Aurora will organize live events here in New York City. In addition to a luncheon, which will honor Aurora's friends and supporters on March 10th, there will be an ecumenical service with representatives of all religions and spiritual leaders to commemorate those who fell victim to the outbreak of COVID-19.
When we remember those we lost in the course of making our world a better place, we help ensure that their memory lives on forever. This is what underlies gratitude in action, one of the key concepts of Aurora's global movement. David and I are delighted that there are so many supporters of this cause. As COVID-19 hit the world, Aurora stepped up. We have a special message from one of the initiative's co-founders who is uniquely positioned to tell us more about its efforts.
Joining us from Boston, a thriving center of scientific research and one of the world leaders in higher education, innovation, and entrepreneurship, is Dr. Nubar Feyan, founder and CEO of Flagship Pioneering. During his 35-year career, Dr. Feyan co-founded and helped build over 40 successful startups, including Moderna Therapeutics, a biotech company racing against the clock to find a COVID-19 vaccine.
Greetings from Cambridge, Massachusetts, and behind me the Charles River, whose coursing strength and resilience serves as a reminder of the strength and resilience of the humanitarians we honor through Aurora. While I would much prefer that we celebrate together in New York City today, securing our health and safety is most important, and I know we are all together in spirit. I am a scientist and inventor and believe deeply in the power of innovation to improve lives. I therefore could not be more proud of the spirit of innovation that has enabled Aurora to accomplish so much for so many in just 5 years. We have launched or supported 28 projects in nearly a dozen countries, including Sudan, Malawi, DRC, Ethiopia, Brazil, Iraq, and Myanmar. Working together and fueled by the generosity of so many of you, Aurora has changed the lives of nearly 1 million people. Aurora has also acted quickly to be responsive to evolving and emergency needs. When a huge explosion recently rocked the capital of Lebanon, Aurora donated $200,000 to support the citizens of Beirut and called on the global Armenian community to help. As COVID-19 began to spread across the globe, the Ararat Challenge movement, launched by the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, made a $120,000 donation to the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Armenia to buy ventilators and to support local health professionals on the front lines. When it comes to battling a global pandemic, there are many front lines and many frontline heroes. Tonight, we pay tribute to New York City heroes who have fought valiantly to bring health and healing to those battling COVID-19. It is my honor to announce on behalf of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative that we are donating $100,000 to the Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, New York, to help its struggle against the virus. Scientists are also among the frontline heroes battling the pandemics, and as co-founder and chairman of Moderna Therapeutics, I'm immensely proud of the role scientists in science are playing to bring safe and effective vaccines to market, and also the role Moderna and other flagship pioneering companies will play in protecting us all from future pandemics. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative has coined the expression gratitude in action as the human spirit that can motivate humanitarian activism and giving. When this pandemic is defeated, we will all have much to be grateful for. And just like those whose lives were saved by our Aurora Prize nominees and laureates, our collective gratitude in action can help others at a time when the world needs it more than ever before. I'm grateful for your fellowship and support, and again extend my appreciation and congratulations to the health sector heroes at Elmhurst Hospital in New York. On behalf of all of us, we applaud your bravery and your commitment to your patients. Thank you.
To Nubar Afeyan, thank you. What impressive impact this represents, and there's more to come. Let's hear now from the CEO of the Elmhurst Hospital in Queens, Israel Rocha Jr.
Hello, my name is Israel Rocha, and I am Vice President of NYC Health and Hospitals and CEO of NYC Health and Hospitals Elmhurst, an acute care facility and level 1 trauma center that is part of New York City's public healthcare system. I am joined here today by our physicians, nurses, and other members of the healthcare team here at Elmhurst. On behalf of our 4,000 employees, I want to thank the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative for the enormous gift you have given to us. I also want to thank Governor Andrew Cuomo and all of our other elected officials for their outstanding leadership and advocacy of Elmhurst Hospital during this difficult time. The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative recognizes modern-day heroes and the exceptional impact their actions have made on preserving human life and advancing humanitarian causes in the face of adversity. I have to say, the heroic men and women standing with me here today who have been on the front lines of battling COVID-19 in one of the most impacted communities in the world certainly meets this criteria. Throughout our COVID-19 response, we served over 10,000 people who were impacted by the virus in our inpatient and outpatient settings. So we are deeply appreciative of this recognition and acknowledgement of our frontline workers who have served our communities so well. We are also elated by what your generosity means for our community as it grapples not only with COVID-19, but also the long-term social and economic impacts of the virus. COVID-19 has reinforced to us the need to continue to develop strong programs to combat pathogens and chronic disease conditions that have disproportionately impacted low-income communities and communities of color. Your $100,000 gift will greatly help us in that endeavor. We are enormously humbled by this outpouring of love and compassion during our time of need. We deeply appreciate the support and can't tell you how much it means to us. It has strengthened our resolve to combat this dreaded disease and eventually defeat it. Thank you. Thank you, Aurora!
Thank you for what you do, Mr. Roca. For 5 years, I have had the honor to host the Aurora Prize ceremonies. Each one of them was always full of emotions. It's not just about the inspiration we get from our heroes, but also about the impeccably curated cultural impressions brought to life by amazing performances. In keeping up with that tradition, Vartan has asked a uniquely talented person to prepare something very special to help us honor tonight's event.
We are delighted to introduce to you the acclaimed cellist who will perform for us this evening, the incomparable Yo-Yo Ma. He needs no introduction, and all of you know that his career is testament to his enduring belief in the power of culture to generate trust and understanding. From Boston, for you, for all of us tonight, the one and only Yo-Yo Ma.
Good evening. My name is Yo-Yo Ma, and it is a great honor for me to be here tonight with you. I'm here greeting you from Boston to celebrate the Aurora Prize Gala. For me, there's nothing more enjoyable than to be present at an organization that wants to celebrate the good work of others, giving hope for a better society. Tonight, the music I'm playing for you, I'd like to personally dedicate to Vartan Gregorian. He is to me, first and foremost, a scholar, a deep thinker, and a very wise human being. I first met Vartan at the very beginning of the Silk Road project. I was introduced to him and I was amazed by his fluency in Persian, Arabic, Christian, and Hebraic cultures. He opened new worlds to me that day. For that, I'd like to dedicate a piece of music that reflects a little bit of that kind of breadth. It's a piece that I played when I met him next in Beirut, Lebanon, when he was given an honorary degree at the American University of Beirut for his scholarship, his work in education, and his philanthropy. This saraband of the Second Cello Suite is a piece that has also traveled from Africa to Europe to South America to the Americas, back and forth, just like Vartan. The other piece I'd like to play is a piece that honors all of the diaspora of Armenians around the world. Karunk, crane, means something very special because it represents a mix of sorrow and hope. I believe that it's that mixture, Vartan, that has given you a lot of your wisdom. And it is the hope that we have today combined with the sorrow also that is happening right now, as well as over 100 years ago, that we want to have soar and to bring us into a better world.
Beautiful music like what we've just heard truly knows no boundaries and unites us all. And so does compassion. Aurora transforms tragic experiences into a global movement committed to inspiring each of us to protect the life of our fellow man. And you can also join these efforts by making a contribution to the initiative. The funds raised today will be directed to support humanitarian needs of vulnerable people worldwide.
Over the past 5 years, thousands of individuals and organizations have been moved to join the Aurora co-founders in putting gratitude to action. And it all began more than a century ago when the American people, and especially New Yorkers, stepped up to help the persecuted.
Millions of dollars were raised to provide children in the orphanages operating in the Near East with food and clothing. Today, we remember with gratitude Mr. John D. Rockefeller, Mrs. Oliver Harriman, and Mrs. George W. Vanderbilt. Babe Ruth, the American professional baseball player, regarded as one of the great sports heroes of previous generations, and child actor Jackie Coogan, who sent a ship full of food and humanitarian aid to support the Greek, Assyrian, and Armenian children. We also honor the members of the American Committee for Armenian and Syrian Relief, Edwin M. Bulkley, James L. Barton, Cleveland H. Dodge, John H. Finley, George A. Plimpton, Harold A. Hatch, Arthur Curtis James, Henry Morgenthau, Walter George Smith, Charles V. Vickery, Rabbi Stephen Wise, Cardinal Gibbons, and Stanley White.
To commemorate the generosity of the American people and to urge everyone to contribute to world peace, a few days ago, Aurora brought together the representatives of all main Armenian spiritual institutions for a collective prayer.
I want to welcome all of you to this evening's prayer for peace and gratitude. I welcome you especially to this, our Cathedral of St. Vartan in New York City. It is my great pleasure and honor to have beside me this evening, praying along with us, representatives of all of the Armenian Christian denominations.
The Aurora Humanitarian Initiative has been characterized as an organization of gratitude in action, to express our people's gratitude to the world, as well as to highlight the legacy of contemporary heroes.
Today, as we prayed for peace, as we prayed in thankfulness to the Lord our God, we come together to be able to pray for our beloved brothers and sisters on the front lines of Artsakh and Armenia.
Regardless of the darkness that war causes, we Armenians continue to strive for peace and hold dearly to the dignity and value of human life.
To commemorate the extraordinary contributions of a number of luminaries from this blessed country who, by the heroic work of the Near East Foundation over 100 years ago, during and in the aftermath of the First World War and the Armenian Genocide, brought extraordinary relief and welfare to hundreds of thousands of orphans and victims of that catastrophe. And in so doing, provide for us today an example of the charity and generosity and courage to stand up for the highest values of humanity. Zikoy arkayutun yev zorutun yev park havidyanis amen. Շնորհք դյարն մերո Հիսուսի Քրիստոսի եւ սերն Աստուծո եւ հաղորդություն Սուրբ Հոգվույն եղիցի ընցես ընդամենեսյանդ ամեն
That prayer from a few days ago. In the 21st century, so many Americans continue to support those in acute need of humanitarian aid.
Tonight, we acknowledge all those who have supported the Gratitude in Action anniversary events. You can see their names right now on the screen. Their invaluable contribution empowers Aurora to honor the unsung heroes and helps the initiative increase its impact and reach. Thank you. For 5 years, Aurora has also been particularly fortunate to receive generous support from several outstanding philanthropists from across the globe, the members of the Founders Circle.
It is an honor for us to show you all their names and to recognize their invaluable contribution tonight.
Your compassion and generosity helps Aurora to help others. Thank you.
There is yet another group of individuals whose contribution is key to making sure Aurora's helping hand is able to reach those who need it the most. And it is the individuals in charge of the most difficult decision of all, the Aurora Prize Selection Committee.
The first co-chair of the committee, Elie Wiesel, devoted his life to advancing humanitarian causes, battling intolerance, and defending victims of genocides and war. He passed away in 2016, but his legacy lives on.
Elie Wiesel embodied the very best of humanity, and his lifelong mission of peace and understanding, despite the horrors he faced, serves as an inspiration to the world. He lived his life by his belief that there's no such thing as neutrality and indifference when atrocities happen, when people suffer, when mankind's humanity is under attack.
Humanitarian, performer, and filmmaker George Clooney, co-founder of The Century and the first co-chair of the selection committee, currently shares the title of its honorary co-chair with world-famous peace and human rights activist Benjamin Ferencz. I remember how during the inaugural Aurora Prize ceremony 5 years ago, George quoted Adolf Hitler's notorious words, "Who, after all, speaks today of the annihilation of the Armenians?" But then George gave an unexpected twist to them by continuing, "The answer is the whole world. That's who."
Among the honorary members of the Aurora Prize Selection Committee are Oscar Arias, founder of the Arias Foundation for Peace and Human Progress, two-time president of Costa Rica, and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Valery Gergiev, artistic and general director of the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia, and chief conductor of the Munich Philharmonic. And Gareth Evans, President Emeritus of the International Crisis Group and the former Foreign Minister of Australia.
And voting members of the selection committee include Lema Gabawi, founder and president of Gabawi Peace Foundation Africa and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Shireen Ebadi, founder of Defenders of Human Rights Center and Nobel Peace Prize laureate. Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland, former UN Commissioner for Human Rights. Hina Jalani, advocate of the Supreme Court of Pakistan and a human rights activist. Ernesto Zedillo, director of the Center for the Study of Globalization at Yale University and former President of Mexico. Bernard Kouchner, founder of Médecins Sans Frontières, former Foreign Minister and former Minister of Health of France. Samantha Power, Harvard professor, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Paul Polman, co-founder and chair of Imagine, former CEO of Unilever. John Prendergast, human rights activist and co-founder of The Sentry. And Vartan Gregorian, one of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative co-founders and president of the Carnegie Corporation of New York.
And now I would like to present to you a message from the outstanding person who chairs the committee. He is Lord Ara Darzi, President of the British Science Association and co-director of the Institute of Global Health Innovation at Imperial College London. A surgeon by training, this year he voluntarily put himself at risk to help others when he went to work in the intensive care unit of St. Mary's Hospital in London as COVID-19 disrupted the lives of millions of people. What better person to lead by example?
Aurora co-founders, laureates, and humanitarians and friends. As we mark Aurora's 5th anniversary and continue honoring the unsung heroes tonight, it is my greatest pleasure to read on behalf of my fellow members of the committee our joint statement. Over the last 5 years, Aurora Humanitarian Initiative has taken on a leading role in the humanitarian field, empowering a whole generation of modern-day heroes and fostering a unique global community of like-minded individuals. Aurora was co-founded by Vartan Gregorian, Nubar Afayan, and Ruben Vardanyan. It expands the circle of giving by supporting selfless men and women who risk their lives to help others and raising international awareness of their important work. All this was inspired by the co-founders' intention to put into action the gratitude they felt towards the saviors of their forebears. Rooted in the aspiration of moving beyond the traumatic experience of the past by transforming it into something positive, Aurora believes that everyone deserves a second chance. Since its inception, Aurora has brought together countless supporters and shed light on the work of exceptional individuals, ensuring a brighter future for all. Committed to universal human values and transcending religious, political, or any other boundaries, the initiative has already succeeded in changing the lives of 910,000 vulnerable people. And by achieving that in such a short time, Aurora has truly raised the bar for impact in the field. As members of the Aurora Prize Selection Committee, we are honored to be part of these outstanding efforts. We hope that they will bring about similar endeavors across the globe, which will in turn honor the heroes who deserve our recognition by adopting Aurora's uncompromising approach to the elimination of human suffering. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Darzi, and thank you for your selfless work during this pandemic.
The unique character of the Aurora Prize lies in the fact that it celebrates those who embody service to others, not personal achievements, but the values that preserve our common humanity. People like Marguerite Barranquitza, who saved thousands of lives and cared for orphans and refugees during the years of civil war in Burundi. Or Dr. Tom Katina, who for years has been the sole doctor permanently based in Sudan's war-torn Nuba Mountains.
Or Cho La-un, with his unwavering dedication to fighting for rights of the Rohingya people, and Mirza Denayi, driven by his passion to help the most vulnerable members of the Yazidi community in Syria and Iraq.
These amazing people don't do what they do for recognition, but they deserve it. We are grateful to Ernst & Young, the independent observer of the Aurora Prize, who helps us give them this recognition by monitoring the selection process all the way from the nominations period to the laureate announcement. Ernst & Young have been overseeing all procedures to ensure transparency and credibility in the voting since the Aurora Prize launched in 2015. And we're also grateful to the independent Aurora Prize expert panel, comprised of 50 humanitarian professionals who assess all eligible nominations according to the Aurora Prize selection criteria to narrow the overall list for the selection committee's attention. By the way, nominations for the 2021 Aurora Prize are open until October 31, and you can nominate the person who inspires you at auroraprize.com. For the last 5 years, the initiative honored these heroes at the Aurora Prize ceremonies and beyond them. And everyone who has ever joined us for the Aurora Prize ceremony knows Charles Aznavour's song, Pour toi, Arménie, written to benefit the victims of the 1988 Spitak earthquake. It has become a tradition to play this beautiful song during the ceremony, and you could hear this familiar tune during the opening of our event.
Marguerite.
Tom Catena.
I have never met such warm and hospitable people in my entire life.
Une lueur d'espoir, une flamme, une envie de prendre ton destin entre tes mains. À bras le corps, Armenia, Hayasta.
We need your help to solve our problem in our Myanmar.
The Armenian people first celebrated the first Yazidi temple here in Armavir here. And this humanitarian recognition of Yazidi genocide, I will admire it utmost.
Ես հավատում եմ, մեր մայրաքաղաք Երևանը կդառնա համաշխարհային մարդասիրական մեծ կենտրոններից մեկը։
I think Aurora and I think Armenians see it as they were one time oppressed, genocide, pushed down. Now, after 100 years of this, the Armenian people are giving this huge prize, this big award. They're giving out to the rest of the world.
As descendants of survivors of the Armenian genocide, we launched this on behalf of all survivors of genocide, oppression, and other acts of injustice throughout history and throughout the world.
Aurora Prize showed to us, everybody, that we can dream, we can change, we can rebuild a world where it's good to live.
Aurora want to pass the message to the world that we would like to stop, prohibit, and prevent the other communities, the other vulnerable communities from the genocide, and to bring the message of peace and human values and humanities.
These are simply remarkable people whose compassion compels them to interfere on behalf of others. And Aurora helps them. Just as a century ago, the world helped another Aurora, the one who inspired the co-founders of the Aurora Initiative. Aurora Mardiganian, born Archelaus Martikian, was known as a symbol of survival and redemption. A woman who lived through the atrocities of the genocide, perpetrated by the Ottoman government, and then heroically relive those horrors for the world to know the truth. After escaping slave traders, Aurora reached American missionaries who took care of her. She never forgot their selfless act of true kindness and compassion.
This generosity empowered her to care, in turn, for hundreds of victims of the Armenian genocide. As she set foot on Ellis Island, like thousands of immigrants before her, Aurora's spirit was unbroken. Adopted by an Armenian family in New York, Aurora Mardiganian's account of the genocide was published in newspapers in New York and Los Angeles and released as a book, Ravished Armenia.
In February 1919, a film based on that book had a huge society premiere at the Plaza Hotel in New York. Aurora Mardiganian and Ambassador Henry Morgenthau played themselves in the production. The film went on to screen in 23 states, with profits going to support 60,000 orphans. Aurora would try to speak to the public at each premiere, and people responded, supporting her cause and donating generously. Overall, her efforts helped raise $30 million for the vulnerable and persecuted. That is over $450 million today.
Today, we're also remembering Henry Morgenthau, the U.S. ambassador to the Ottoman Empire, who exposed to the world the reality of massacres and atrocities perpetrated against the Armenians. Ordinary Americans were deeply moved by the plight of fellow human beings suffering and dying across the world, and anxious to reach out to them. Just as today, thousands of people around the world are supporting Aurora. And you can join them by making a contribution to its cause.
Aurora Mardiganian's story, together with thousands of other accounts of untold bravery and survival, inspired the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative and the Aurora Prize. Her quiet courage and resilience remain a beacon of hope for many.
I remember a beautiful tribute to her memory during the Aurora ceremony in 2018, when my co-host, Dalia Tella, a young woman from Lebanon who was a student at the UWC College in Dilijan, Armenia, read a letter she wrote to Aurora. I'd like to share that inspiring moment with all of you.
Dear Aurora, I am Dalia from Lebanon. I am 18 years old, just 1 year older than you. I listen to music. I search for the answers to life's many questions. During the year, I travel several times to Armenia from Lebanon on paths that are safe and secure. The paths of your life were not. In your book, you recreated your travels, forced and full of hellish adventures, from Turkey through Russia and Europe to the United States 100 years ago. And that became the film Ravished Armenia. You wrote the book about your life, and you played yourself in the film. Arsha Luis, Aurora Jan. This is how Armenians address those close to them. Does it calm your soul now to know that what must have caused you indescribable pain is a source of hope and inspiration for me, for us, 100 years later? Trying to communicate with you about all this is very difficult and compelling. Fate or some higher power saved you from being actually crucified, since the crosses were enough just for 16 girls. The 17th one that would have been yours just wasn't there. But you chose to carry your own cross, putting aside your own pain and bravely and honestly sharing with the world the tormented life stories of thousands of orphaned girls. The words of your undefeated soul awakened the world 100 years ago. And I am one of those who carries the echo of that undefeated soul. I now understand that even today, I am surrounded by Auroras, yesterdays and todays.
So beautiful. Over the years, the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative has developed many beautiful traditions. As Aurora means dawn, and dawn is Arshalus in Armenian, which also stands for hope, one of those traditions is inviting an Armenian girl named Arshalus to the ceremony, where she presents to the laureate a grapevine stem. This grapevine is then planted at the Kur vineyard in Armenia to give everyone a chance to come back and raise a toast to the heroes honored by Aurora with the wine made from their own grapes.
This year, of course, this is impossible because of the pandemic, but this tradition is not forgotten. It is simply postponed until we can all travel and be together again. We hope that we will see all of you in Armenia in no time. And meanwhile, I want to introduce a great friend of Aurora and a member of the Aurora Prize Selection Committee who will present you this year's laureates. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Samantha Power.
Good evening, David, Judy, and Vartan, and hello to everyone watching virtually. For the past 3 years, I have had the great privilege of being part of this wonderful Aurora community, particularly during what can feel like such a dark period for human rights. It is so moving and impactful to be reminded year after year that in every part of the world, individuals are taking action. Action despite great danger, action that not just helps others, but action that truly saves lives. The stories and accomplishments of these courageous individuals need to be recognized and need to be celebrated. Aurora does this by lifting up the heroes who sacrifice everything for the sake of humanity, and by continuing to spread the message that acts of kindness, when you add them up, really do make a big difference. I believe that bringing attention to the actions of all those who are part of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative will offer encouragement to those who are deciding every day whether their own struggles are worth enduring. This spirit of shared humanity is what makes us stronger. And the work of 2020 Aurora Prize laureates Fartun Adan and Ilwad Elman is a vivid testament to that. Fartun once commented lovingly, quote, "I have 6 brothers, but I always have in my mind that I am smarter than them. Women in my country are accustomed to waiting for men to tell them what to do," end quote. Fartun was not willing to wait. Together with her daughter Ilwad, they have turned into a formidable team that champions human dignity and the rights of women and children. Fartun started both the Elman Peace and Human Rights Center and the Sister Somalia program, which helps women who have been abused or forced into marriages that they want to escape. Fartun and Ilwad brought Somalia's first rape crisis center to life. Their network now numbers 8 such centers. They've also worked to empower women in their community by offering everything from counseling services to educational opportunities to assistance entering the workforce or starting one's own business. Peace building in a country that has experienced destabilizing armed conflict for decades is also central to their work, with a mission of getting former child soldiers to drop the gun and pick up the pen, as they put it. As a result of these efforts, Fartun and Ilwad have been able to identify what works in Somalia and what can be scaled to help other countries. Their organization now works with partners in places like Mali and Cameroon to provide new lives for traumatized young men. In spite of all the obstacles and all the personal tragedies they've endured, their persistent daily work, from running safe houses for persecuted women to rehabilitating more than 4,200 child soldiers, has saved thousands of Somali lives and inspired millions of others.
Somalia has been in conflict for more than 25 years. There were always a lot of child soldiers among fighters. Once I spoke to father of child soldier, the Al-Shabaab man was saying, we can give it back to your son, but you have to pay $30 every month. And he said, I can't pay $30. I can't even pay $5. So they forced the son to fight. My husband, Mahmoud Ali Ahmed, established the Elman Peace Center. All around Mogadishu, he had the car repairs, he educated and trained the boys and then hired them. He had a slogan, put the gun, take the pen. Warlords didn't like his idea. In 1996, Elman was killed. I took my girls, my 3 daughters, to Canada. I wanted my girls to have education. That's why I was there. But I'm always have in my mind, and I always tell them I'll go back to Mogadishu. In 2007, I came back to Somalia and opened Elman Peace Center again. And then my daughters came one by one. Ilwad now is working with me. When she came, I was happy because she was helping me, but at the same time, I can feel the risk.
There was war, there was mortars everywhere, coming from Canada and just being thrown and all of that is very terrifying. But after a week, I started going to the centers and seeing the work that she was doing, and I understood that people needed her and that she was actually creating change, and just as we needed her, other people needed her.
They learn plumbing, vehicle repair, mobile repair, and other practical skills. Most of them were taken from Al-Shabaab. When you hear Al-Shabaab, you expect the worst. But when you stay with them and see how they are playing and learning, they are just children. They need a chance for a new life.
nimankii ay tashkiiliyey al-shabaab ay tashkiiliyeen rag meesha magaalada joogay markay tashkiiliyeen waan raacay nimankii soo bax jihaadka soo gal waan raacay.
There is an agreement in place that any child that is apprehended or captured at the front line or surrenders within 72 hours has to be handed over to our centers. We want to give them an alternative that is peaceful, and less fighters means less fighting.
3 cases of rape that happened in this IDP camp just today.
There are a lot of internally displaced people's camps in and around Mogadishu. Living conditions are awful. People don't have money, food, there's no safety. Armed men come to the camps at night to rob and rape women. But because of fear and stigma, victims of sexual violence don't speak about it. We were able to generate a discussion that never before existed on the extent of sexual violence in Somalia. We were threatened, some of our staff were jailed, but we have made it so that there are now policy changes protecting the rights of women. We opened the Women's Development Center, where survivors of sexual and gender-based violence are rebuilding their lives. This is through skills development, through literacy and other forms of education, through providing safe houses, shelters, through the clinical management of rape, and giving them actual access to health services. In case you're a victim of rape and your family or clan disowns you, you can empower yourself with confidence so that you don't need to rely on anyone. I was not going to stay in Somalia, but having worked with my mom, I saw that I was actually helpful and useful, so I stayed.
I found purpose here. I found purpose in Somalia.
You can see the change. I just don't want to stay home and do your own family only. But I have so many family now, so many kids who call me mom. Sorry. The work we do is very emotional.
Congratulations to these remarkable women. And thank you, Samantha Power, Ambassador Power. As laureates, Fartoon and Ilwad will receive a U.S. $1 million award. What makes the Aurora Prize truly special and unique is the fact that this gives the laureates an opportunity to continue the cycle of giving and support the organizations that have inspired their humanitarian action. This is gratitude in action.
Fartoon and Ilwad have selected the following organizations: Love Does, Pansy Foundation, and Prajwala. We're sure that the contribution given to them will be put to good use. By doing that, the laureates will help them fight for freedom and human rights, provide basic quality health care to marginalized populations, and save victims of sex trafficking. Aurora seeks to empower modern-day survivors to offer life and hope to vulnerable people anywhere in the world, and thus continue the cycle of giving internationally. Every day, there's a new dawn, a new symbol of hope for those who need it. Today, thanks to #AuroraChallenge, a global video-based crowdfunding campaign set to help the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative to combat poverty, improve health care, and provide education to those in need, everyone can join in this movement, everyone, and give a second chance to those who need it most.
At the core of it is Mount Ararat, a universal symbol of renewal and second chances, in everlasting memory of 1,500,000 innocent martyrs who perished in the Armenian genocide. The Ararat Challenge movement intends to unite at least 1,500,000 contributors and supporters globally.
The campaign is relatively young, certainly much younger than the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, but it has already brought together 25,000 people from all over the world. You can also join it. It's open to anyone. And now we're delighted to turn the floor over to one of Aurora's co-founders, social entrepreneur Ruben Vardanyan. A dedicated impact investor, Ruben is best known for his numerous deep-reaching philanthropic programs, such as the UWC College in Dilijan, Armenia, the first UWC College in Eastern Europe, or the Tatev Revival Project, part of which includes the construction of the world's longest cableway leading to an ancient monastery, and many, many other things. Ruben.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome all of you from Shushi. Today is October 18. It's the 21st day of the war in Artsakh. A lot of people was being killed and died during this war, and many of them innocent civilians. We are celebrating 50th anniversary of Aurora in New York, and I staying in Shushi, and behind of me is a Shi'i mosque, which was renovated last year by many of our friends and donors, but main was donor is Sunni person who didn't care about what he is Sunni and the mosque is Shi'i. This renovation supported by our foundation, head of our administration of Artsakh Republic and our administration of Armenian Republic. And we believe this is the core ground for everything what we are talking about, human values, about the living in peace. You need to be understanding what we have. Despite all the difficult issues, we will sit around one table and despite all the difficulties find compromise solution. And I'm a strong believer with Aurora main message about this, gratitude in action. And what we're doing is all about one thing. Let's not create war, after which we need to create new Aurora, because better to stop war in the beginning. To prove this, I want to show you the other religion place, which was destroyed by the war a couple days ago. And behind of me is an Armenian church which was destroyed during this war. or last week. And this is, I think, the best symbol of two approaches. One approach, despite all the differences, despite all the difficulties, despite all the issues that we have in history, we need to respect culture heritage, we need to respect human lives, we need to respect each other and live together. And here we can see how, if you don't do this, how easy everything can be destroyed. And one thing I want to wish Aurora, when we are together, we live in a world where never again war will happen. I wish all of us to stay together, because only together, good people who believe in human values can really stop this. Together we are big power. Thank you.
And Ruben, we thank you for joining us at such a difficult time. As you said, solidarity is the most powerful thing in the world. As human beings, we can never remain indifferent to the suffering of others and should not rest until there's peace.
And we just got news from the members of the Aurora team in Yerevan that our dear friend and founder, Ruben, is fortunately safe and is watching the event from Armenia. So we're together in spirit. God bless you, Ruben. Speaking of Aurora's main message and the spirit of humanity, there's a person who truly represents it. Born in a small town in New York, he has moved across the world to save thousands of lives as the sole doctor permanently based in Sudan's Nuba Mountains, where humanitarian aid is restricted. I'm talking, of course, about Dr. Tom Katina, chair of the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative, 2017 Aurora Prize Laureate, and medical director of the Mother Mercy Hospital in Sudan.
Tom Katina's underlying ambition has always been to have a job where he could work with people and really help them. That's why he began his medical career in the United States Navy, serving 4 years as a flight surgeon.
Following his residency, Dr. Katina spent 6 years as a volunteer in Nairobi, Kenya, before moving to Sudan to co-found the hospital he still leads. He's actually there right now, saving lives, but he sent us a message that we're about to see.
Hi everybody, good evening. This is Dr. Tom Katina, and I'm here with the staff, some of the staff of the Mother Mercy Hospital here in Sudan's Nuba Mountains. I would have loved to have been there with you in New York, but unfortunately I can't make it. Or this way, at least I can address you without having to wear a suit. Really, we're just here today to give thanks. Thanks to Aurora, thanks to Vartan, thanks to Nubar, thanks to Ruben. Thank you for all the wonderful support over the past 4 years. The truth is that without your help, we would not be here today serving the people. We are trying to take the Aurora mantra of gratitude in action to heart, and we're trying to show our thanks by taking care of the beleaguered population here of Nuba Mountains. This year, especially, we want to honor Vartan. Vartan, you've had a very illustrious career. Born in very humble circumstances in Tabriz, Iran, you went all the way to become president of Brown University, which, as everyone knows, is the world's most prestigious and famous university. Vartan, I think your history and the history of the Armenian people really is parallel to the history of the people of Nuba. If you look at all these staff here, all these people here have grown up in war. That's all they've known their entire lives. They've been the victims of genocide from a very oppressive genocidal regime in Khartoum back in the 1990s, and more recently when civil war started again in 2011. And despite all that, through their perseverance and resilience and hard work, all these people you see here have been to professional school and are now trained medical professionals. We are trying to take the lesson of Armenia, people that have suffered tremendously, have overcome all these adverse circumstances, to be really a beacon for the world. Vartan, I think for us here, we are in the very early stages of looking at starting a clinical school. We want to train more midwives and nurses and clinical officers. And I think just as a tribute to you, knowing your background in education, we'd like to name the school the Mother Mercy Hospital Vartan Gregorian Health Training Institute. Just to show our appreciation for what you and Aurora have done. So that's my simple message to you, and we hope you have a very enjoyable evening. So from the staff of Mother Mercy Hospital,
thank you.
Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, Vartan.
It's crazy. What a remarkable man Dr. Tom is, and a moving culmination of our exceptional evening. The important work that the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative makes possible continues across the globe, and we thank our supporters from all over the world from the bottom of our hearts. And I know my friend Vartan would want me to let you know, New York, that you have not heard the last of us. Our New York campaign will continue through March, when we hope to join together in person to express our gratitude to you for helping us honor humanitarians around the world and sharing our belief that even in challenging times, a brighter future is in the hands of those who are committed to saving lives and providing hope. As this event is coming to an end, we encourage all of you to raise your voices and act today to defend world peace so that people, and especially children, everywhere could lead a safe and happy life. Thank you. I'm David Ignatius.
And I'm Judy Woodruff. Thank you to each one of you for being with us. It has been such an honor to host this ceremony. We hope to see you in person in March of 2021 at Aurora's ecumenical service and special luncheon here in New York City. Right now, it's time for David and me to say goodbye. But there is still one more surprise for you tonight, so don't go anywhere yet.
Good evening, everyone. Dear Aurora co-founders, selection committee members, friends, and supporters from around the globe, it is my greatest pleasure to address you here tonight. This gathering takes place during one of the darkest periods in the recent history of humanity. As the pandemic almost brought the world to an absolute halt, it also took almost 1 million lives, including the life of my father, Ellis Marcellus, who died in April of complications from COVID-19. He was 85. Well, my father was something. Whenever he played in a band, he would always listen to each individual musician, follow them very closely, and then make sure he was doing everything on his piano that he could possibly do to help them sound better. That's the best way to play. And it's also the best way to live. And the members of the Aurora community are proving it every day by putting the lives and well-being of others before their own. Well, my father went out the way he lived, with soul and with feeling, calm, cool, accepting of the cycle of life. And I'm glad for an opportunity to honor his legacy by performing for you here tonight. Thank you so much.
Here we go.
the saints go marching in. Now once I had a playmate. He meant the world to me. But when I went out and found religion, my playmate turned his back on me. Oh, when the saints go marching, when the saints go marching, I want to be shining that number. Oh, yeah, when the saints go the saints go marching in. I wanna be right in that number. Oh yeah, when the saints go marching in.